It says on
Hello.
the air.
I know we're having a little bit of trouble. I think we're on the air already. So I just want to say welcome back to the Live to Roll channel. This is the Women's Disability Show. I'm your host, Brianna Wheeler, and I'm so excited to be here with some new guests for you guys. So we're gonna go around and introduce ourselves. If this is your first time watching, my name is Brianna. I was injured almost 5 years ago. It's gonna be 5 years next month, and I was wrongfully shot in my car. I was in the front seat and there was a commotion behind me, and the gun went off, lodging the bullet in T12, fracturing L1 through L5 and paralyzing me instantly. So that's my story. And my quote that I'm going to leave you guys with today is, don't wait for the storm to pass, learn how to dance in the rain. So that has got me through a lot of things. There's going to be obstacles and struggles, but you got to keep on going and keep on living your life. So that's my little quote for the day. So we're going to go to Brittany. Brittany, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, I'm Brittany. I'm a T12 paraplegic. I was injured due to a drunk driving accident of my own doing. I was under prescription medications and alcohol, and I broke one bone, and it was my T12, and it paralyzed me from the waist down. I will be a month. Next month will be my 3 years in my wheelchair as well. And so my quote is your higher power is going to bring you to your higher purpose.
Yes, amen. Love it, love it. Okay, let's go to Dez.
Hi, my name is Desiree. I am a C5, 6, 7 incomplete walking quad. Um, I was injured almost 5 years ago from a fall. And my quote is probably just keep pushing. Faith without works is dead. So as long as you keep pushing, you'll see progress.
Yes, love it so much. Okay, let's go to Erin.
Hi, I'm Erin. So I was injured. It will be 4 years in July. I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic, complete. And I was injured. I was on a hammock and half was connected to a chimney and it collapsed on me. And that's what caused my injury. And my quote is be like a flower, survive the rain, but use it to grow.
Love it. Woohoo. I'm so happy that you guys are joining me today. We're going to get into some deep topics and learn about these girls' journey. And I'm very excited to learn more about them and learn how they dealt with their disability along the way. So, we're going to be talking about being newly injured and our feelings with that. And so I'll go first. I've already explained a little bit, but really the moment that I realized that I was disabled was when I had to go to the SSI building and I was filling out my paperwork and there was like different check boxes and I had to check that yes, I'm disabled and yes, I'm homeless because at the time I was living in a motel. And that just broke my heart. I was like, is this how I'm going to be categorized now? Is this just my future? And like, it did scare me. What was the future to come? If this was what I was now. And that was really, really hard for me. So it was mainly the beginning was just fear in the beginning, for me. So let's go to Brittany. How about you? Tell us a story of when you first saw yourself in a chair or the moment you realized that you were really disabled.
So for me, when I was injured, I was in the hospital and I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. They had to wait to do the surgery for like 2 or 3 days. And so they kept me sedated for a little while. And after that, I came out of my surgery. And when I came to a little bit more, these doctors were coming in, and it was probably about 2 weeks, and they were telling me that they were releasing me and taking me to a rehab. And in my mind, I thought, I was in this car accident because I've had many car accidents prior. That I'm just going to, I'm injured. I can't feel my legs right now. So therefore, I'll go back to what it was. But I was looking at them really confused, and my mom actually had to tell all of the doctors to leave. And she had to look me face to face and say, Brittany, they're giving you a 5% chance of never walking again. You are going to have to use a wheelchair. And that was like the first initial like gut feeling. And then the second real hard gut feeling was when my I have 3 children, so my youngest was 8 months old at the time, and they put me in the wheelchair, and when I was actually able to go down to go visit her, and her not being able to me when they put her on my lap and me not feel her on my lap, that was really hard too. So those two things were an eye opener for me on how am I going to live? What am I going to do? Because I don't know anybody else in a wheelchair. I didn't know this was a whole new aspect for me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That hits me deep. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that, and it's really hard feeling. So let's go to Des. Can you tell us a story of when you first saw yourself in a chair, or the moment that you realized that you were really disabled?
So, so the first time initially, I want to say that I didn't initially see myself in a chair because I was a bit in denial. I just kind of thought, my body's asleep and it's gonna wake up. Um, and then when they transferred me to the rehab as well, it's kind of the same, similar to Brittany, is kind of where I think it hit me there. And when you first go to rehab, it's an adjustment to them teaching you how you're gonna learn to live now with this disability. But also similar to Brittany, not being able to go home. So when I got injured, my son was 9, and that was probably the hardest part. Thinking like, how am I gonna do things? Although he was older, um, you know, as a mom, we are supposed to take care of them. So to think like, how are we gonna do things now? And my husband, saying he was gonna turn our living room into my bedroom, like, is kind of where it all hit me. Like, wait a minute, how is this gonna work?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's hard. I think coming home is really hard, and having to deal with those realities is very difficult. I agree. Thank you so much for sharing with us. How about you, Erin? What was the moment that you first saw yourself in a chair, or that you realized that this disability was real?
So for me, I was in the hospital for like 3.5 weeks, and then I went to rehab for 3.5 months. And I think I felt the same way. Like I thought rehab, like I was gonna recover. Like I didn't really get it. But when I was in rehab, I barely had arm function at this time. So when I realized like I couldn't feed myself, or like even like I can now, but when I couldn't then, and I couldn't even like scratch my nose or my forehead. And I think that's when I was like, how am I gonna do this? Like this is so frustrating.
Hmm.
And then I think also when I got home and realized like I couldn't trust myself and all those things, and that was definitely when I realized like losing my independence was going to be like the most difficult thing.
Yeah, I relate to that so strongly. My independence was really hard for me too. I was extremely independent before, and now having to like rely on all these people to do stuff the right way was so difficult for me. It was like hard to accept that as my reality, you know. So yeah, thank you girls so much for sharing. I'm gonna read the chat because I have the chat going right here. So let's just see who's in there. So we have multicolored just saying hello, Marlena, Sandra. That's right, sis. God is good. Um, so proud of you, Des. And we have Garcella, and she has CP. She's just saying hi to all of us. Jazelyn, Brittany's my mama. Oh, how cute. She's saying, I love you. Thank you for joining and listening to your mom. And who else do we have over here? Krista Joe saying hi. Erin Field is so incredibly strong and beautiful. She's so positive. My favorite YouTuber, so transparent. Woohoo! Go Erin.
Sweet.
Um, um, yeah, so that's the chat. I'm able to see it this time, so just be active in there. I want to know who's watching with us. If you have any opinions, if you agree, if you disagree, we want to know your story, and then I'll be stopping in between the live and just reading it out to you guys. So thank you for watching and joining with us. We appreciate it. So let's go to the next topic. Our next topic is going to be, how does looking at old pictures or memories of yourself before your injury make you feel? beginning versus now, and any advice that we had to get through this process and gain more confidence with our disabilities. So for me, looking at old pictures was something that I would do so much in the beginning. My first 2 years, I was very depressed. I would just cry in bed and like look at old memories, look at pictures of myself, miss the way my body looked, the whole everything, right? I was in it. And so it wasn't until I really joined the community and I met more people in chairs and I realized that that part of me, that person that I'm looking in the picture, is no longer there, and it was almost like she passed away, but I didn't get a chance to mourn her. So there was no funeral, there was no gathering where we got to talk about memories and I got to like put her to rest. No, it was just one day she's there and one day she's gone. And this was a person that we created. This was a person that we love. This is a person that, is us, right? So I think it's even more difficult than losing a loved one. And it was about 3 years in where I decided to write a goodbye letter to myself and just basically say, it was a whole day of crying, and just saying, I love you. I appreciate you. You were so funny and you went through so much and you stuck it out, and I'll always love you and be proud of you. And I hope that you love me and you're proud of me too, and it's time for me to create new memories and recreate myself entirely, my style, how I think, everything, right? This person is no longer me anymore. In the beginning, I was trying so hard to be that person again, to relate my sexiness to this person, to relate the things that I was able to do with the things she was able to do, right? But that's not my reality anymore. And so making this goodbye letter and really taking a day to grieve really helped me. So now when I look at old pictures of myself, I smile and I'm like, wow, she lived her life. I love that for her. That was a great memory that she had, and that's just the way I talk about it now. So that's been my journey with looking at pictures and just getting more confident in my skin again. So let's go to Brittany. How about you? How did looking at old pictures feel for you?
So it's a little bit different for me. Number one, just because the pictures that I have of myself for about a few years prior to my accident weren't good pictures anyway. I'm a recovering addict, so this wheelchair gave me a new life, and I'm pretty grateful for it because the life I had before and the pictures that I have, I can see when I was using, I can see when there was just no color in my skin. And I was miserable and I was trying to suppress a lot of other issues that I've gone through in my life. And then, this injury kind of gave me a reset. And it took me a little bit to get that as well. And so for me, like it took me almost a year into my wheelchair to even accept that I was an addict, and then on top of it, as a disabled woman. And so like there are certain pictures of me that I really, really enjoy, but there's actually one picture of me that was the day of my accident that I do not like, but I always post because it reminds me of what the mental anguish I was going through at that time. And to see pictures of me now are so much better. I'm so much healthier. I've got color in my skin. I'm happy, but it was very hard. It was very hard. I didn't even know the person in the pictures prior. So those aspects, and those have been the biggest pinpoints for me, of just realizing that I was miserable, and now I take a lot more healthier and happier pictures today.
Yes, I love that so much, and I relate so much with it. At the beginning, I was making this fantasized version of myself, right? Like, because I was just so depressed that this was happening. But now that I take a step back, it's just like, no, that person was not happy. I see life so differently now, and I wouldn't change a thing. And it's just getting to that point where of acceptance, and it does take time. I think the beginning is always going to be the hardest, but if you work towards it, it's possible. I think that's the main thing to get out of it. So I love that so much. Let's go to Dez. How about you, Dez? How was looking at old pictures or memories of who you were before affected you?
So it's really odd because I really didn't look at pictures of myself probably till I started walking. Um, and some people, you know, I always tell people that they could look at a picture of me now and they could look at a picture of me prior, and it may look the same to them, but yet I can see the differences in my body and, you know, the way my body's, the posture and the stance and, you know, the stiffness. If you know that when we get injured, our body becomes very stiff. And even if you regain function and you're able to walk, your body is still stiff. So, you know, things that I notice, but others may not notice. You know, I always say that looking a picture at me now looks normal, but I see the difference and I know the difference, right? Also, you know, my hand, I can see the difference in my hand and, you know, how they looked prior. So it does, you know, make you a little, it makes you a little sad. Um, but just learning how to be confident in your new body and learning our new body, I think is what is helpful.
Yes, I agree so much. I feel like taking pictures of myself in a chair, even if I hated looking at myself, helped me so much. Just like gain my confidence back, like know what I like in pictures, know what poses work best for me, you know, instead of just totally being like, oh, I hate looking at myself. I'm not going to try at all. You know, there's a big difference in that. And like, I think Dez's story is so interesting to me because a lot of us in the industry, in the community, are fighting for to walk, right? And I hear her story and I've gotten very close with her and I just feel like she still deals with so much inner things that happen. And in reality, society looks at her regularly. They don't look at her and think she had a spinal cord injury, that she went through all this stuff, that she has problems with her bowels and bladder, that she has problems with her nerve pain, you know? And so it can be hard to have like this almost invisible disability, you know, where you don't really know where you fit in. Because also she walks into a room of wheelchair users and they don't know right away neither what she's been through, you know? So she's like in the middle of it. And can you share a little bit about that, Des? Because I think that that's such an interesting point.
Yeah, so I think that when we get injured, we all we want to do is walk again. So, but we don't realize what comes with walking. So, you know, as I mentioned in the beginning, I am incomplete. But again, we always say that incomplete and complete doesn't really matter. Sometimes um, people that are incomplete don't always walk, and some people that are complete, you know, they may possibly walk. But I still have no sensation from the chest down. My left hand still does not have full finger function. I still do the bowel program. Um, and I deal with nerve pain 24/7. So I'm just the same as Brianna. The only difference is I regain movement to walk. But me and Brianna deal with all the same things. I always say that my disability is indoors because unless you hang out with me for a full day, you really don't know everything that I go through on a daily. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the only difference with someone walking. I can only speak from my experience, but I did not regain full sensation. Um, so all the things basically I deal with the same as every other spinal cord injury
Yeah, yeah.
person.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. I think that that's such an interesting take on it, you know. And yeah, I love it so much. So let's go to Erin. How about you, Erin? How was it for you looking at old pictures of yourself or memories?
So for me now, like I love to look at old pictures because I feel like grateful. Most of my old pictures are from college, so like I'm happy I got to have all those experiences. But like when I was in Spalding, I remember like my friends and family hung up old photos, and that was really tough then because it was so new. So like I remember being really, really upset during in the beginning. But now I like enjoy looking at those photos. But I definitely still struggle with like missing old memories and stuff. But I did there's I saw a quote that was something that was like, your moments you're creating now will eventually be your new memories and your new photos. So I don't want to like keep looking on the past. Like I want to be able to create like these new memories and these new moments so I can look back in like 10 years and be like happy, even if I'm in a chair or not, you know?
Yes, I love that take so much because like those 2 years that I wasted not living my life, not taking pictures, I just like halted and it was just pointless, it was wasted time for me, and like
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that that's so important, making new memories, finding new hobbies, living you're alive. You have to learn how to live again. It's gonna hurt, it's gonna be hard, but it's possible. I'm going to keep on saying that because it's so important to remember. Sometimes when this injury hits us, we feel like it's impossible to do all these things. We just totally block it out of our mind. We can't do it anymore. And that's not the reality, And I've learned that so much dealing with the community and seeing so many amazing things happen and amazing people inside of chairs live their lives. So if you're out there and you're watching and you feel like your life is at a halt right now, take action, take action
Mhm.
and make a change to do something different. It's really night and day in the memories and your progress in your life. So yeah, let's take a moment. Let me read the chat. Let me see what's going on over here. Marlena, you women are also strong. Alice, what advice would you give to a young person who is newly injured? Oh, this is a deep one. Okay, let me go through the comments a little bit and then we'll go back to that one because that one's a little deep. Okay, Janet Marie, 16 years old, C4, C5 quad here. Wow, you're so young going through this. I hope you get some advice. I know that it is extremely hard to deal with in the beginning. We're going to go through this acceptance stage. We have to, like I said, grieve that part of us that is no longer there anymore, and that whole process takes a little while, and it can be frustrating for our family and friends watching us because basically they're watching somebody that they love be in pain and like have their whole lives turned upside down and they don't really know what to do. They haven't been coached in this either. They don't know what to say to us, how to help us, so learn about the community, watch videos like this, go on to support groups on Facebook. I added my family to support groups. I started taking them to support groups and really having them listen to other people with a disability so that they know what I'm going through because I couldn't really communicate every single thing that I was feeling. So that would be my biggest advice for somebody who's newly injured. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to that or not.
That's true.
Let's see. Alma, Marquise, love you all. So proud of you, Desiree, Auntie Molly, Heidi Field. I love you, Erin. You ladies all look amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your lives. Jaslyn, I'm proud of you all. It was also a new experience for me trying to adjust for my mom not being able to do everything for me. I love you all so much, all of you. Aw, Jaslyn, you're so sweet. Sandra, hello, ladies. Des is my beautiful sister-in-law. All you ladies are amazing for doing this for other people who are experiencing the same thing. God bless you all. Thank you so much, Sandra, for watching. I appreciate it. Um, Chris Reeves, amen, Sandra. I agree. Okay, Garcella, all of you, I love all of you so much. And I really hope I can meet you guys one day. Oh, I love that so much too. Sticking together is what makes the dream work, what keeps us all going. I love this community with all my heart. Um, so yeah, what else do we have? Sorry. Have any of you or would any of you get stem cells from home? All of you are so beautiful and so well spoken. You're all such an inspiration and for anyone to look up to in life. Oh, I appreciate all these kind comments. They really keep us going. This life is hard and we're just showing you guys what works best for us, So you guys are all so sweet and we really appreciate it. As for stem cells, and that's like a whole different topic to really get into. I don't know if any of you guys, Erin, you have, right? Um,
I've thought about getting them, but like I
Oh, you
haven't got them though.
okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure or not. So I don't think any of us in this group have done it. But yeah, we'll definitely in future talk about it on different topics. Okay. So let's see. So let's go to what is something that your family and their friends did or said after your injury that hurt you more than it did help you, and how could they have handled the situation better? So we touched on this a little bit, right? Dealing with family and friends is extremely difficult for this, right? We're put on different paths almost, right? So for me, it was like, you don't understand what I'm going through, let me be sad and depressed. all this stuff. And basically what they did is they let me do that for way too long. They let me just give up. I didn't want to do transfers by myself. I didn't want to get ready by myself. I didn't want to live life. I didn't want to go to the store. I didn't want to do anything. And they were just like, okay, let's let her do this because that's somebody that we love. She already got hurt. We don't want her to get hurt again. You know, anytime that I was learning how to transfer, they were so nervous for me, right? Because it's nerve wracking. And I think that what they could have done is learn more in the community, like I said, and push me a little bit more, and just like make those comments that I can do something more, you know, that my life isn't over, and just those little reminders to help me keep going instead of just being like, she's going through some stuff. We're just gonna let her cry it out, you know. I think that that's really what happened in my situation. So let's go to Brittany. How about you, Brittany?
So it was a little bit of a mixture for me. I had a lot more support rather than I did have any negative naysayers. But there was a lot of me accepting the fact that other family members and friends didn't know how to handle seeing me disabled and seeing me in a wheelchair. And then, you know, I always like my family's always pushed me. And even I had that year of, you don't understand. I'm in extreme pain. Let me be, let me live my life. Let me do what I want to do. You know, I was angry at them because they kept pushing me and I just wanted to sit and soak. But then, you know, I also had them just continue to try, and eventually the fog lifted and I was able to do something different. But then what I face a lot is people think I'm this fragile little egg that I can't, you know, I can't pop a curb or I can't do a wheelie, and everybody's on standstill because they think I'm gonna, you know, and that's been the biggest one. But really it's just me, like, you know, they're there for support and I need to let them be there because I'm Miss Independent, want to do everything by myself. But I also need to embrace help when I need it, as well as ask for it, and educate my family on top of, and like you said, Brianna, like I, you know, inviting them to my advocacy events and any kind of support groups and anything like that, to get them really understanding on, it's not just me. These aren't just my feelings. There's many people that feel like this, and there's so many different ranges of how people feel. So it's really just, I had a lot of support. I really did. I can't say that I didn't, but you know, there were some negative things, but I didn't let that stop me or deter me from being the independent, you know, loving mother, you know, continuing strong person that I, you know, I didn't even know that I was at the time.
Yeah, I love that so much. And it is hard for them because too much support can be a problem as well, because we're in an angry state, you know. And it's a difficult situation because it's like, what is right and what is wrong to do, you know. And it's just trial and error, honestly, you know. It's like also accepting that there is going to be this period of sadness, of grieving, you know, and allowing that process, you know. And like you said, taking them out in the community really helped me because, like, we don't know anybody that, like, in a wheelchair that was going through this. They don't either, you know. So they're very confused, just like we are, you know. And so we have to take a step back and realize that, I think. So that's really important. Okay, how about you, Des?
So I would say I would.
Oh, you froze a little bit.
Oh,
You're back.
can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now.
So I had, you know, as far as like immediate family, I had a good support system. But when it came to like coming back home, I have my son and my husband, and one thing that at one time it kind of bugged me, it kind of hurt me, is because they would always be like, you could, you know, like how she said, with too much support, like, you could do it, you could do it, you could do it. And for me, I think because I was always so independent and such a go-getter, that I kind of embraced being a little bit spoiled in the beginning, you know, them pushing me in the wheelchair and all that stuff. And I had to come a place where, you know, I told my therapist, I'm like, you know, the boys weren't helping me. They weren't, you know, helping clean and do stuff. And we live in a 2-bedroom condo, which is a little bit harder for me. And she told me that you know, they seen you when you first got injured and they've seen the progression. And it's not a bad thing that they don't look at you with your disability. You're back to just mom and wife. And it's better that they do push you and encourage you. But sometimes I have to remind them, like, I still need help. Like, you still need to do this. So
Yeah,
those are
definitely.
the things that I had to, and still deal with.
Yeah, I think it's a struggle to be like, I don't want you to see the chair, but I want you to understand that I still have a disability. You know, I think that is like a very thin line that is very hard. And yeah, since society is not really taught about it, it's like they're kind of just new at all this too. They don't really know what the right or wrong answer is to do it. You know, so educating, communicating is so important in this situation. You know, because like for an instant like this, I would take maybe my dad or my brother to a support group and somebody else would explain the situation, right? And it wouldn't come from my mouth, but it would just make them realize, like, am I doing that as well? You know? And so I think it just is really, we have to find a way to make them understand, to like get them involved in this disability as well. You know, it's really a family injury. And
Right.
yeah, I agree. Okay, let's go to Erin. How about you, Erin?
So I think for me, there's like two groups where basically like there's the people that are so supportive in the beginning and it's like they're amazing and then like 3 to 6 months they just drop off and you're like, what happened? And then there's the people that aren't supportive in the beginning because they don't know how to deal with it. They're scared. They don't know how to cope. And then a few years down the line, they're super supportive. And I think that's great. I've had like people that have done both, but I think it's really important that we need them in the beginning, but we need them through the whole journey. You know what I mean? Like you need
Yeah.
them probably more in the beginning, but you need them longer than just a few years or a few months.
Yeah, I agree. That's such a good thing that you talked on because, like, you know, we all have those people that just showed up because they just like heard about it, you know, and they're nosy and they just like want to know what happened, you know, and like, and it does suck because I feel like we go through a period. I've talked to many people that have been in this situation, right? So don't feel like it's you if
Yeah.
you are going through this. You're going to lose friends, even family members, because not everybody can understand it. And I feel like it really shoves that bad things happen to good people, right? And they don't know what to do with it. That's why they say all these things of like, "Oh, I have hope for you," all this stuff because it makes them feel better, you know? And so don't think everything is about you and your disability because it's really easy to do like, "Oh, now I lost everything and now I lost my friends on top of it. Now my friends don't even want to hang out with me. Now these people like they saw me, they came around for a little while and I was just too much for them." You know, and it hurts our hearts. It is a hard thing to deal with, you know, but I think just stay strength in that life has a way of taking out the people that you don't need anymore. You know, you're never going to lose a person that is meant to stay in your life. And you have to remember that. Okay. Like these people that I have now, even the people that came back around, that's who's meant to encourage me and meant to push me along this journey, you know? And like just like I had to mourn myself, I mourn those relationships too. And I came to an agreement that those people were in my life for when they needed to be. I had fun with them when I needed to be, you know, and now I'm on to new things, you know, that's just the way it goes. So it is a hard pill to swallow, you know, it's a hard thing to grasp, but it's reality, it's life, man, and it is a struggle. Okay, so now we're going to get into relationships. It's February, Valentine's Day, so we're going to be talking about relationships and kids and just learning a little bit more about these ladies' journeys. So I've already talked a bit about my relationship. You guys can go back and watch more on that on one of the different podcasts that we did. But just for the new watchers listening, I was in a relationship with my boyfriend for 1 year before my injury, and he was 2 years younger than me. So he had just turned 19 and I had just turned 21. And we went from me being independent and me being very confident and me cooking and me doing all these things to all of a sudden it's all on him, right? So we like completely switched roles. And I feel like it was very hard for both of us to take on those new roles, and to not feel like we lost something. This injury is a lot to deal with. And we were put in this position where my family was calling and checking in, but they weren't like there. So it was just me and him dealing with day-to-day basis. And I wasn't trying to do anything, you know? So I feel like that was the biggest conflict in our relationship because he was like my full-time caregiver and I was just so angry about life. So I completely changed who I was, you know, and we had to find a new balance again. When I really started going into the community and learning more about this injury and finding myself again, that's when our relationship grew. You know, that's when we found that balance, that equalness. What do you need from me? You know, that I can help you with, and what can you help me with? You know, and that communication is so, so important. Sometimes we go through things, we're angry about things, we wish the other person would do something. Maybe they said something that hurt our feelings, and we're just going to be angry about it for 2 days, and it just doesn't help the relationship. I think that also taking your disability out of the equation and being like, what can I do personally? Maybe I'm too angry. Maybe I don't say I appreciate you enough, or maybe he needs to hear I love you enough. What can I do personally? Because regardless, relationships are hard. No, you have to find that balance. So, I think it's easy to blame our disability on a lot of the conflicts, but a lot of it is just life. When you're dealing with somebody for many years, you're gonna go through problems. You have to learn how to balance. You guys change, without your relationship. So, yeah, that's my journey with relationships. And let's hear more from Brittany. Were you in a relationship when you were first injured?
I was actually with my youngest child's father at the time, and this was his first child. So when I got injured and she was 8 months old, and my older two were from a previous, and they went to go live with their father, but that this relationship was, about three, it was, I want to say about a year in. And then I got pregnant. And then 8 months later, after having her, I have an injury. And he took her and he took care of her. And it was really, really hard for him to see me like that. And then our relationship did not last. It was about, I'm going to say about 4 months after my injury. He, it was a bad breakup, and but now we have a really great relationship, and he always was there, but he had his own issues and I had my own. So um that was really hard for me because I thought that after that, because I was already in a relationship and now I don't have a relationship, and I was really insecure about myself, that I didn't think anybody would want me in a wheelchair.
Mm,
But that is not the case at
yeah.
all. As I'm sure all of us know,
Yeah.
that is not the case at all. But the relation, like, I'm in actually a relationship now, and it's new. It's almost, actually, Valentine's Day will be 3 months. So
Wow.
but this relationship is so different compared to that relationship. Number one, I have a lot of self-love, and I have to love myself, because regardless of my disability, I can't find happiness in somebody else. I need to find happiness in myself and share that with somebody else. And also, not trying to find somebody that looked at me as a damsel in distress, that sees me as a woman, as a mother, as somebody that can do all of these things, but how can they help me grow, and vice versa. You know, that I'm still learning that. And I'm still new in my injury, so I'm learning things
Mm,
that, I'm still new to all of this. This is all relationship with a disability. I mean, you name it, just anything. So um it's it's process of elimination for me, of like, what am I doing to better myself, and then, how can I help do that with my partner. How can I be open and honest about how I'm feeling. The intimate issue was a little scary for me as well. But communication is so much the A1 ticket, like that the communication of, how you feel, what your body is like, because all of our injuries are different. So trying to be intimate with somebody, on top of trying to understand it yourself, is
mm.
is a challenge. And I'm still figuring stuff out about myself, being in a new relationship and being a disabled woman.
Yeah, definitely. You touched on so, so many great things. And I agree with all of them. All this stuff is hard, and I think it's important to, know that it's going to be a new journey, and to be with somebody that you feel comfortable with. Communication for me about being intimate has always been like very silent. So it was very, very hard for me to learn how to communicate with my partner, and like let them know what works and what doesn't work for me. And that is important to do, even if it's uncomfortable, because it overall makes a better relationship for you, right? If they're doing something that is just so uncomfortable for you, then it's going to not be enjoyable, and so like these things are important to communicate about, and it will be difficult, but if your partner is loving and your partner loves you, then they'll understand, and they'll understand that they need to learn how to communicate as well, so I'm gonna keep on saying that communication, communication. Sometimes we lose that in this injury. It like made me become so silent and like not really say what I want and need sometimes. And I need to work. I work on that daily. Honestly, I really do. So, yeah, let's go to Des. How about you, Des? Were you in a relationship when you were injured?
Yeah, so when I was injured, so I am married and I was married. We have only been married like 3 years, and for us, initially, it just gave us, it was a huge eye opener that all things that we ever argued and fought about prior were so small, and here we were going through this life changing thing. Um, and immediately it brought us closer. Um, did you hear me?
Yeah, I think it was
Okay.
a little bit of an echo. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, it immediately brought us closer. Um, but also so many things changed within myself, I was in rehab for 4 months. So once you came home, then things, changed. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. I see the next question. So I'll go touch on that after.
Go into it. What was the biggest conflict between you guys? You can go ahead and go into it. And like, how did you handle that conflict?
So just like you said, learning to communicate and learning to communicate with not hurting the other person's feelings, being careful with your words, knowing that what you're going through is not their fault. It's not something that they did. So this communication is huge, like you said. Learning my body. I mean, obviously, intimacy is a huge thing. Because of my, with injury and my own insecurities, it kind of pulled me away. And then learning how to enjoy intimacy again, because intimacy has changed, right? Learning how to communicate, like you said, things that I liked prior to injury now were uncomfortable for me, but for the first couple years, honestly, I wouldn't say nothing because I didn't want to hurt or offend him. I just wanted to keep doing my job as a wife. But in time you learn to
away from them.
Yes, and in time you learn. So yeah, that's probably one of our huge hurdles.
Yeah, definitely. And like, how long did it take you to really feel like an equal to him and like really feel like he wasn't just looking at you as like the injured wife anymore? What steps did you have to take to really gain that position back and feel like you were a part of this relationship as well? It wasn't just totally him 80% and you just 20%, like what was that journey with you guys?
Well, so to be honest, not to toot my husband's horn, but he never did anything to make me feel any less of. It was it's always been myself. It's always been my mind, my insecurities, my thoughts. He's always encouraged me. He's always complimented me. But it's you have to feel beautiful. You have to feel worthy. And I feel that when you can get that, when you feel that within yourself, then that can change everything around you.
Yeah, that's
my husband is no perfect man, but yeah, he never made me feel less of, and that is something that I'm absolutely grateful for.
Yes, yes, that's so so great to deal with. So how about you, Erin? What were you in a relationship when you got injured?
Yes, so I had only been dating my boyfriend for a month. We were juniors in college. We were both 21, and it was like that summer. So we started dating right after that semester in June, and the injury or the accident happened in July. And basically, it was tough because he was there, and like when he sat on the hammock next to me, that's when the chimney fell. So I think he had a little bit of guilt in the
Mhm.
beginning, even though it wasn't his fault, but like he definitely had guilt. But I do think the fact that he was there did help for him to understand it better and help bring us closer. But what was really difficult is um, we had he had to like 3 weeks later go abroad for the end of the summer
Oh
to
wow.
Germany, and then uh, in that fall I was supposed to go abroad for the semester. So it was just really difficult because I didn't go back to school and he did. I lived in Maine, but I ended up staying in Boston, and he went back to college without me in Maryland. And so that was like probably the hardest time was when he went back to school and I couldn't. And I saw my friends at school and I was just like, this sucks. But I think the best thing was I went back to school 6 months later. So I went back to school with him and we got a dorm room together. That was awesome. Brought us a lot closer. And then we ended up moving in together in Boston after we both graduated. But I think the hardest part was probably just trying to manage like him wanting to like go out and party still because we're only 21, and it's not even that I couldn't go, it's that I didn't want to go. I didn't feel good. I wasn't ready. I wasn't, I didn't want to drink. Like it just so it's just communication and learning to both of us learning to adapt to like the new situation, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that is so important to do because I felt the same way in my relationship, and we actually wound up splitting up for a couple months because I was so in my head, like Des said, and just like kind of making up all these scenarios. And because we were so young, I had a conversation with him that was really emotional and was like, look, I don't feel like you're going to walk away from this situation, and I can't handle feeling like I took something away from you. you know that was hard for me. Like if you feel like this is too much for you, there's a better girl out there, you want to go hang out with your friends, you want to do all this stuff, like handle it, go do all those things, and like I'm gonna learn more about myself and like try to adapt without you as well. And that was very very hard for us, but those months apart made him also realize, which this is not always the case, it just happened with my journey, but he realized like I don't care about all these extra things that I thought were so important. I don't care that you have to do bowel program. Like that doesn't isn't what makes you you. That isn't why I like being with you. That we problem solve together, we laugh together, we're best friends, we're one unit. Like that's what makes us a couple, not my disability. And I think
Mhm.
that often the guys are praised for staying with us, you know, and it's like, wow, you're so strong, you're with this girl, like props to you, all this stuff. And it's like, no, my disability has nothing to do with it. He helps me, I help him. And for some reason, society doesn't really view it that way. Automatically when they look at us, it's just like a pity party, like, and I hate that so much with the community. I really hope that changes, within the next freaking couple of years because we're advancing every single year with this community. But it is hard. It is hard to stay in a relationship. And I also think it's hard for them because now they're bringing around somebody with a disability as well. So they have to be confident in that this is their woman. And that's a process as well because I feel like people with disabilities are not sexualized. They're not being put in relationships on TV. So people almost feel like something's wrong with being with somebody inside of a chair. So I don't know if you guys have felt that way. I see you guys shaking your heads. So I'm sure all of us have felt this. It is difficult to do, but if your relationship is meant to last, it will last. I also just want to mention again that being in a relationship, finding somebody that you connect with is so hard. Moving in with somebody and combining lives, so hard. Regardless of being injured or not. I have able-bodied friends that had twice as many boyfriends as me, and have twice as many bad relationships, and like that isn't what defines us in a relationship. So I think that's so important to touch on. Yeah, this was a great convo. I love talking about this. I think it's so important. A lot of people feel like they can't be in relationship after their disability, and that's just so crazy to me. Let me look at the chat
Brianna,
really quick. Yeah.
I agree with the whole crazy. I just watched someone's podcast last night, and I want to touch base on that as well. But the people saying like, oh, he's so great, he stood with you, or but like for us, we're married, and yeah, he's great, but how is it any less or better of? I mean, when you get married, you vow for better or worse, for sicker or poor. So don't get me wrong. Again, my husband's a great guy, but he did and he's doing what he vowed to do 8 years ago. And
Yeah.
if the tables were turned, I would have done the same thing, right? And so I really wanted to also touch base on that, because when you love somebody, you love them regardless. You love them beyond their situation, beyond their conditions. Love is endless, right? So yes, our partners are great, but they're no different than anybody else. They should have stood regardless if they truly loved you.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like
And I also, sorry, and I also, if anybody is watching and you are newly injured, and or you have been injured and that person didn't stick around, just know that you were too much for them to handle. You can get better. You deserve better, and it has nothing to do with your injury. You were just too good for them.
yes, preach. Amen. Because oftentimes it's easy to blame our disability. And sometimes you just have to remember, put it in your head that things just don't work. Some relationships just don't work. You don't just get in a relationship and you're with that person forever. No, like there's ups and downs, there's flaws. Like, yeah, I can't walk, but maybe that girl has smelly feet, and you have to deal with that every night, Like everybody has their things, their, cliches. And I think that it's important to remember that those things. I love that so much. Yeah. Also, one of my mentors, Anthony, that's in Triumph Foundation, his wife told him like, "Hey, I didn't fall in love with you because of your legs. That's not
Yeah.
why we connected because you walked. Like at the end of the day, some people are not man enough or woman enough to handle that, and you have to just push away from them and learn to live your life and know that I've talked to many people who that has happened to, and they found somebody 10 times better. Brittany was just talking about it. Her relationship is 100% different, So don't lose hope. Everybody raise your standards. So yeah, let's talk about kids. So let's get into the kid conversation. So for Brittany and Dez, they actually had kids before their injury. So we're gonna talk to them first about it. Me and Aaron do not have children, so we'll talk about that afterwards. So Brittany, how did you explain your injury to your kids? And when you did explain it, did they even understand what you were saying?
So my two older children were 10 going on 11 and 8 going on 9 or 9. Yeah, 8, 7 or 8 going on 9. And they knew of my addiction. And so, I've been very upfront and honest with my children from birth. Like I've had a very good emotional connection with my kids. I've never really hid anything from them. And my son took it a lot harder because I promised that I would never do it again, and I did it again, and it was really hard. It was really, really hard, and it was hard seeing both of my kids get emotional. I mean, I'm getting emotional because I'm actually like within this past month I'm going back to that almost 2-3 years of being in that hospital bed, telling them what I did to myself, telling them, that this is what's happened. I am going to be using a wheelchair. And, even though my son was upset with me, he told me, he said, it doesn't change that you're my mom. And that right there, like, I knew that they accepted it. And kids are so resilient. Kids are so resilient. My daughter, she goes to any lengths to help me. Both of all of my children do. My older two, they haven't lived with me full time since my injury. Now, my youngest, she's now 3. She's lived with me pretty much since the beginning, since actually she was 1. So it's really interesting to see, the difference between my 3-year-old with me, because this is all she knows, to my 2 older children that saw me prior to my injury and then now, and then them not being here all the time to see me in everyday life. So, my kids are very understanding, and they are amazing kids, and they do anything and everything to help me. But my older 2 sometimes don't really, it catches them off guard because they don't see me in a wheelchair. They don't see their mother as a disabled woman. They see her as the tough and rough, mom that lays and cracks down the law. Like, my son is like, 6 foot tall, 14 years old, and he's like, oh, don't mess with mom. Don't mess with mom. So, like, and it's great because now my 3 children have a understanding of what the disability community is, and now I'm bringing 3 children into the next generation to understand this community. And my youngest, she's 3, she acts like a doctor all the time. She has to have her wheelchair Barbies. She has to have, she has to make sure my feet are propped up on my foot plate. She goes and gets me my medical equipment if I need it and I forget it. She knows exactly where my medical equipment is, and she's 3. And it was hard for me to even ask my children for help or for them to help me because, like Des said, I'm supposed to be the mom. I'm supposed to be the one to take care of them. But they want to do it. They want to be a part of it. So I can't deny them of this because they need to see it all in what it is so that they understand. And since this, like, I my son, he's helped the disabled children in his school, and my daughter is a lot more aware, and think like they're more heightened about the disability community. And I'm just thankful for my injury because my kids are being resilient with me. My kids are being strong with me. And sometimes they give me the strength and they don't even know it because, I'm always been, I was that PTA mom. I was that one I always was up at the schools. I was always going to the events, and then it just ceased. And, but that doesn't change. I thought that that I was not being the mom that I was supposed to be, but, they love me, and, I love them, and they're amazing. Like, I really couldn't ask for better children in this situation. And like I said, they have a more of an understanding of what the disability community is and might do something in it. And that to me is exciting in itself.
Yes, that's such a beautiful thing. And your daughter's in the chat room right now just praising you and telling you how much she loves you. That's so beautiful because I agree so much. I wouldn't change a thing because my family's so aware. My little brother, who's 7 years old, plays with my wheelchair as well, plays with the little Hot Wheel wheelchair. It's normal to them. So I think that that's a beautiful thing that, like, my mom can connect with somebody that has a disability just simply because I have one. So she's making one less person lonely in this world just because she's connected with me, just because she knows what I've gone through. My dad works at a church, and he saw one of his people there with a wheelchair that had a broken front tire, and he reached out to fix it and, like, reached out to me to get a new wheelchair. And it was like, wow, that's so special because without me having my injury and going through all the things I went through, my dad would have not even second thoughted that. And so that's a beautiful thing. Again, we don't know why things happen, but I always say that things happen for a reason. Sometimes we don't get to know those reasons. Life goes on, and sometimes we just can't question our position in this world. So I think that's so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing, Brittany. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's go to Des. How about you, Des? How did you explain your injury to your kids, and did they understand it? And what was your journey with that? What was the hardest part for you?
She already has me crying over here.
I know.
So let me just kind of give a backstory. I am a mom and a stepmom. So I have 4 stepkids, and I have my son that I birthed. My son was 9 at the time, and then the other kid, my son is the youngest, so they were all older. I didn't have no little ones.
Mhm.
But my two second youngest, um, they lost their mom uh, prior to me marrying my husband, and so when I got hurt, it brought a lot of emotions, not only for my son but for them. And I didn't want them to go through something so traumatic all over again, right? And so when I first, but like Brittany said, they didn't live with us full time, so my son is the one that really had to deal with everything. And initially, if we talk about initially when it happened, I just told him that this happened for a reason, and we don't know the reason, but we know that we have to go through this in order to help somebody else. And that was the only thing that I could think of right away, how to explain to him. Um, we are faith believers, and we do go to church, and so the first thing that I did ask my son when he first saw me in the ER was to tell me the story of the paralyzed man in the Bible. And so the only thing that I could hold on to and have him hold on to at that very moment was faith and hope. And so we didn't know what the outcome was going to be. Initially, I still didn't know my diagnosis, but all I knew is that we had a hope for something better. Um, Now, if we go fast forward to now, um, my son has had to help me do a lot of things that normal kids his age wouldn't have to, right? He is 14 now. He just turned 14, and he, does a lot for me. Um, but I also believe that he's a boy and I'm raising a man. So regardless, I use my injury as the reason, but I think that um, the day he gets married, that woman's going to be blessed because of all the things that he's had to do for his mom. So, he's had to do and see some things, right, that kids his age probably wouldn't have to. Um, there's times that, I've had an accident and he has to bring me underwear and, bottoms in the restroom. Um, and so things like of that nature, that's how, what has changed with an injury and having him. The other two, the son, he lives with us now, so he does see some stuff, but he doesn't help me like Isaiah. I ask more of my son. And then my daughter, she comes every other weekend and she helps me, at the market and stuff like that. But my son is the one that has had to deal with it more than anyone.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, like, you're creating a man and he's going through all these things, and not only are you changing his life, but you're changing the lives of the people he is going to be affecting as well, because who knows what knowledge he's just going to spit out because he knows it, it's normal for him, and I think that that's so amazing because that's going to go on for on, right? He's going to teach his wife about it. What if they have kids who he's going to now be able to teach his kids about it, like that's just creating like a generation of people who now know about this disability, like Brittany said as well, and like I think that that's so cool. Like for with my little brother as well, like teaching him like everybody is the same, like treat kids equally, so when he goes up to the kid that has no arms and he's just best friends with them playing like regular, it touches my heart because it's just like, here I am complaining about this injury in the beginning, honestly, like being so angry that this happened to me, and let me take a step back now, almost 5 years later, and look at all the lives it has touched. Even friends who knew me in high school who found out about my injury, it still affected them in a way because they still had a grasp that you got injured, right? And that, wow, like what the heck, maybe I should say I love you to my mom more, maybe I should tell my friends I appreciate them, little things like that, it matters. And it really does keep me going. So I think that that's so cool. And like, so Des, would you say that there was ever a moment where Isaiah was like, I wish you could do this the way you did it before? Or was he already like too young to really relate who you are now to who you were then?
That's a really good question. I He's never voiced that, but that's actually something I would like to know. In preparing for this podcast, I did show him the questions, and when it came down to the kid one, he's the one who told me. I asked him, "What do you think is different now?" And from his opinion, and he said the same thing, just that he helps me more. He said that he feels like he's educated in this area. We didn't, as well as you, we didn't know anybody prior. My husband does have a best friend who is a quad,
Mhm.
but we were never really around him as much. As my husband was, right? Um, so we didn't know anybody. We didn't have family, and so forth. So he said that he does feel more educated now, as to our injury and what we go through, and what the needs that we may have from others around us.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I think that that's so important. Um, that's so great. Okay, so my question, let's go to Erin. I'm gonna talk to Erin about. So how I found Erin is actually I followed a completely different page, and they actually posted a video of her and her boyfriend on that page, right? And of course I was interested, and so I started going through the comments. I was so excited that somebody in a chair was embracing love on this page, right? And the comments were horrible. They were so intense, like a majority of them either making jokes, talking about children, talking about sex, talking about relationships, talking about all these different rude comments. And I started responding to some of these comments because I was just so offended for her. And I really try not to get into that point where I'm like arguing with ignorance. But sometimes I just get in my mood, and it was one of those days where I was just like, what are you guys saying over here? Like, this is not reality. And so yeah, I started like commenting back, and then she responded, and we started connecting that way. So that's actually how I found her. So I wanted to ask her about, having those videos put out of you and getting such a wide variety of those mean, rude comments. How was it when you first started reading them compared to like, how did you get your mindset to like, what they're saying doesn't matter? Do you get me?
Yeah, I think when I first started reading them, I was like, these are funny. Like these people are just so like uneducated. They don't get it. Like, and then as like the more I got, because there was like literally thousands, I was like, I didn't think they started getting to me, but then I started saying stuff to my boyfriend like, are you just with me because you feel bad? And he was like, I think the comments are getting to you. And I was like, I need to stop reading them. But yeah, I think they were definitely getting to me, and I just had to like, but it did kind of help me to like think about those things, think why those people would think that, and then it helped to create conversation between my boyfriend and I about those things as well, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that so much. I never thought about it from that way. And that's so true because like maybe you see a comment like, can she even have babies? And maybe it may question like, can I have babies? And you do a little research and be like, yeah, I can have all the babies I freaking want,
Yeah,
Like, so it's just that little bit of like confidence, that they like hit you at your heart. Cause I mean, even
mhm,
reading that like directed towards you, I still feel that way. And sometimes when wheelchair things
yeah,
are posted on mainstream pages, those comments, I had to make a choice to not read them, because I want to respond back to all these people, but in reality, society just doesn't know, and
yeah,
we're taking it one day at a time, we're educating people, but if those people are going to have a negative impact on how you view yourself, then forget them.
yeah,
It's nonsense, because as easy as they're talking about something about your flaws, because your flaws are right in their face, right? They could see their disability, right? They have stuff to say. We don't know what they do in their free time. They could be completely like ugly people, like like ugly in their heart, and just mean and rude, and just like we have a million more things to say to them than they do to us, you know? So embrace that, you know? Social media, it can be a good thing, but there's also challenges in it, you know? And so I think it's like being confident in your beliefs, you know, and just knowing that that's what you believe and that these people don't know you or what you're going through, you know, and
Mhm.
repeat to yourself. Because on a different day, I'm sure, Erin, you know, like some days it hits you harder than other, you know, or some people word some stuff
Exactly.
than the next, you know. Um, so how long did it take you really to start questioning the whole babies thing? Like, was it a question like right in the beginning? Can I have kids again? Or
Um,
like, maybe
yeah, so it's kind of interesting because my mom always tells me that that was her first concern. Like she was talking to the doctors right away, like, can she still have kids? And I don't think I thought about it for a while because I was so caught up in all the other things I was dealing with and not being able to walk and not being independent. And then I think it wasn't until like down the line, like when my boyfriend moved in with me, then I was like, okay, like, do I want to have kids? Like, and then we started to talk about it. And, you know, if we get married and whatever, and move forward later in life, like we do want to have kids. And it definitely wasn't a concern of mine. But I guess if I would have found out I couldn't have kids, then it probably would have been pretty upsetting. But at the same time, like, I'm open to like adoption and like surrogates and stuff like that too.
of course, because there's different options, you know, and like I think sometimes people get their mindset on a certain goal or a certain like road that they're gonna take, and when life throws you off, because it will, you know, they say like make plans and God will laugh, you know, because it's just so unpredictable. You know, you don't know what's gonna happen. So be open
Mhm.
minded, know there's a different options. It's the same thing with like learning how to do different things. Like I could say, "Oh, I can no longer walk to the bathroom." No, that's a true statement, but I can roll to the bathroom, you know? And so, yeah, it's I'm not gonna just sit here and cry like, "Oh, I just wanna walk right there." You know, like, no, like, I can roll there, you know, embrace that. Like, you know, you might have to do things different way, but it's still possible to do that, you know?
Mhm.
I say that again. So, we're running a little bit over time, but I just wanna ask you guys, like, if you guys have any advice for somebody that is newly injured and in a relationship, you know, and like what you would say to them, or even Des and Brittany, like somebody who has kids, like what is your one thing that you would give advice to this newly injured person? You want to go first, Brittany?
Um, definitely, do not give up on yourself. Like you are worth it. Like there's, like my quote, I have it written on my board here because it's a really great reminder is your higher power is bringing you to a higher purpose. Like you said, like our past, or what our injuries don't define who we are. It's what we're doing today that makes the difference. And we can progress and we can have children and we can have lives and we can have careers. I mean, it's endless. It's endless. Just because we have a disability doesn't change the fact that you can be an influential person in society. And
Yeah.
like it's just don't give up. And I know it's painful and I know it's hard, but get into groups, get into support groups, women, men, I mean, anything. Just, it could be uncomfortable, and but give it some time, because we educate ourselves, and now we're problem solvers because we have to do things differently from everybody else. Just have your higher power is bringing you to your higher purpose. And with children understand, and if you influence your children in the right way, you can make ripples and tides and in the world. It is endless. And for myself, I don't want any more children. I am 33, I have 3 children, I am done. But having that option to have children still is means something to me, and it can be done, whether it is adoption, because there's a lot of kids out here that don't have parents, or surrogates or anything like that. It really just, it's endless. It's
Yeah.
endless on the possibilities of wherever way we go, any way we go. Just have faith in yourself and don't give up, because you're worth it.
Yes, yes. Preach, girl, preach. That was deep. Okay, let's go to Des. Any advice for a newly injured person dealing with this injury, their relationships, their kids, anything?
I would say so much of what she said, believe in yourself, I believe that if you're a mom, you could do it out anything. And just know that your kids not only depend on you, but they look up to you. Recently my son did a message, and I never knew how he felt about me, but yet he doesn't express it to me, but he expresses it in his words, and he thinks that I'm the strongest woman ever. And I think that if you're a mom and you're newly injured, keep them as your drive, keep them as your focus. They were my reason. My kids were my reason in therapy, that I never gave up. You keep pushing, and you're going to get through this. Anything is possible. You just believe in yourself, and you are worthy, and you are beautiful.
Yes, yeah, I love that. So powerful, so powerful. How about you, Erin? Any advice for somebody that's newly going through this?
I would say a huge thing for me was social media. Just talking to people that were newly injured or had been injured before me. That was really helpful. And then I started to like volunteer at the rehab unit for spinal cord injuries, and I would like request to talk to like girls my age because I loved helping them. And on top of that, we'd always become friends after. And that was like that really helped me a lot at the time. And I still now it helps. And then for relationships, I would just say like make sure you communicate and make sure you both learn to adapt, but at the same time, if it's not a good relationship, like don't settle like just because of your disability. Like there's always someone out there for you, you know.
Yes, I
Mhm.
love that. You guys all touched on great things, and like that is a great topic that you just said, because I feel like some people feel like I'm gonna let this person mistreat me because I'm never gonna find somebody else to love me. And like
Mhm.
Brittany said, that is very, very, very untrue. You know, like we're in a new society now. Like somebody will love you. The person that's meant for you will love you. And you have to believe that, you know? But like also you can't stop your life. So you can't expect to get all these things without trying. You have to go into the community, try to meet people like you, try to reach out, ask questions, you know? And I think that was so important for me. Like, um, just like getting out of my head, really learning what other people were going through, taking advice from other people, knowing that I'm new in this and it's going to be hard. I'm going to hit bumps in the road. I got to keep on pushing. You know, just because something bad happens doesn't mean that I get to give up. That's not an option. You have to keep on going, you know, and like put it in your head. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to have bad days. Like I say that too. Like have your bad days. You know, I just had a really bad week where I gave myself a couple days to take a rest, to be sad, and then bam, back into grind mode. I got to keep on going, no matter if I feel like it or not. You know, like that's how I get out of this depression. That's how I keep on living my life and allowing myself to keep on growing into a new person, you know? So yeah, this was such a good conversation with you guys. I appreciate you guys sharing so much with me. I love everybody for joining in on the chat. I see you, Jeanette, that you said that you've been injured for 16 years. My bad about that. And then Jaslyn, she's just so proud of her mom over here. And yeah, I appreciate you guys all. Green 5, powerful, inspiring message. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. So I'm just going to go around. If you guys have anything that you guys want to say about yourself, I just want to give you guys the opportunity to do that. So my social media, all our social medias are on the screen. If you guys want to reach out to us, please feel free to. You know, we're all open and honest about our situation, and I'm sure that we'll be more than happy to help you on your journey. And I do these shows every first and third Thursday of the month, and then Sean does his shows on Live to Roll every week. So make sure you tune in for that. Make sure you check out our merchandise. We have a whole store with some great T-shirts, some cute stuff to rock to support us, and make sure that you leave a like and a comment and subscribe to the channel afterwards. It really, really does help us out a lot to do that. And we appreciate you guys watching. So let's go to Brittany. Anything that you want to shout out or say about yourself, feel free.
Oh, where do I begin? I'm just so I actually am Miss Wheelchair Maryland 2021, and my advocacy is substance abuse within the disability. But in any ladies watching in any state, please, I highly suggest that you find your organization, and if there are some states that do not have them, that you can start it, because this is a community of wonderful women in wheelchairs, disabilities, that you can give yourself a platform, feel good about yourself, feel the confidence, find a sisterhood. So I really suggest anybody out there, step out of your comfort zone, look for your Miss Wheelchair organization for your state, and then, go for it. As well, honestly, just keep pushing and don't give up.
Yeah, yeah, love it so much. Thank you so much. Let's go to Des.
Just, like she said, our Instagrams are below. I'm all about women empowerment and really reminding women how strong they are. So follow me. I would love to chat with you and meet new women friends.
Yeah, and we link some stuff for Des down below. Her other Instagram, she has some amazing blends that I actually have one anxiety. There are rollers. She has one for headaches, for breathing, all kinds of things that are really amazing that just helps us naturally instead of taking medication. That's like really my plus side to it. And she also has another website where she talked about some great hair products and makeup products and different stuff like that. So she's an amazing person to follow. Make sure that you check out those links below. Okay, let's go to Erin. Any last thoughts, Erin?
I guess just that if anyone wants to reach out to me, I love to respond to people on Instagram that are disabled or not disabled if you just have any questions. And then I also have a YouTube channel where I do just a bunch of different topics. So I like for people to give me ideas because I like to help people and just educate people on there. So
Yes,
yeah.
thank you. And so they can find your YouTube just by searching your name?
Yeah, I think if you just search Aaron Field, it should come up.
Okay, okay. And then for anybody watching afterwards, we'll try to add it down below in the description as well. So yeah, this was a great show again. Thank you so much for watching us. We really appreciate it, and we'll be back in 2 more weeks for another one. Thank you guys all. Bye.
Bye.